Okay, so only 8 people have done the task. Impressive. Okay, so what we are going to discuss now is, like, in the last classes we were discussing about the weather application, and in our weather application we were transmitting the data, or simple words, we were fetching the data in the same component as well. Means if we are using app component, so we were fetching the data in that particular part only. But there is a drawback of that application, and the drawback is, if you want to do the same thing, means you want to fetch the data again in some other file, there also you have to do the same thing, writing the same code again. And as a developer, as a programmer, if you're writing the same code again for doing the same task, this is generally not a good practice. So what you need to do is, you need to create something in which you are not writing the same code again. Okay, for that Angular has introduced something as services. What Angular has introduced? Services. Now if we have to define the services, so last time also we have discussed, but again I am writing that services are reusable. What are services? Services are the reusable classes. Means service will be a class as first, and it will be reusable. That will encapsulate the business logic. And business logic means whenever you want to perform some logic, don't go on the word business. In complete word, we say it as business logic. So services will be the classes that will encapsulate the business logic. Data retrieval means if you want to fetch some data, so the classes will do it for you. Okay. Data retrieval and API fetching means generally whenever you have to fetch some APIs and other things, you need to do the services, because API is something you will use that data at multiple places. So fetching the same data again and again is not a good practice, right? It's not a good practice. So you have to fetch it one time and you can use it multiple times. Okay. It provides the it provides the separation layer, or separation between UI logic and business logic. It means generally in your component, you are writing the UI logics, means front end logics you are writing, and services will be the back end logic. So if you are writing the everything, if you are writing in the same file, it will give you confusion. Let me show you that part also, that where it will give you confusion. So I think this is what we were doing last time in your weather app. So you will see that all of these things are related to the front end, because title, city, d city, temp, sea, wind, humidity, all of these things are used here. So this particular part is for front end, and whatever you are doing here, this is completely the backend section or the logic section. So if you are writing everything in the same file, it may give you confusion. So that's why we need services, that it provides the separation between UI logic and business logic. UI means front end and business logic means back end, right? So here let's say some common and practical use of services in Angular. Now, where we can use services in Angular, let's say sometime we don't know that where we can use it. So these are some common use case that you can follow. So the first use case is fetching data from API. Fetching data from APIs. So whenever you are fetching some data using any API, it's not weather API only. So whenever you are fetching the data from API, you can use services. Sharing data between components. Sharing data between components. Handling authentication. Authentication means user sign up validation. Let's say you are trying to log in into any website, right? And website is having username as user and password as password. So if some user is entering those value, it should be logged in. Otherwise, it should say that invalid credentials. So that part you can handle by using services. Logging and error handling. So these are some common use case, and even we use everywhere these kind of things, right? So this is called services. Now, the first thing is how we create a service in Angular. How do we create a service in Angular? So last time I told you that we have to write ng generate service and then the service name. But is it really practically possible that we are writing the service by our cell phone? So I will say yes, of course it is totally possible that you are writing the service by yourself own. So let's open any project here. So test project I will open. Means I will not do the things in the main weather app. First we will understand service in the another project. So we will use this test application and let's check it's working. So here in its HTML I will render the title. So yes, project is working. Now what we will do is we will try to create a service here. So at first in the app folder, we will create another folder named as services. So we have created a new folder as services. In this services folder, I will create a, let's say, message service. So I will write the name as message dot you can write message.service.ts. So I have created a new file message.service.ts. TS stands for typescript, and instead of this message.service you can write any other name. Last extension should be .ts. Now what we will do here, we will just follow the definition. Service are reusable classes. It means that at first a service will be a class. So here let's create a class. Class name I am writing as message service. That's it. I am writing the class as message service. Generally this class will export the data, means other peoples can use it. So this class would come with a export keyword. So export class message service. Now this class is exporting the data, but how we know that this class can be used by other classes? For that we will write one annotation here that is called injectable. That is injectable. And injectable means other classes can import this and they can inject the value from this class to the class that you are using. For that I will write one keyword that provided in, means where it can be provided. So I will write root. Root means anyone or any class from this particular project can use this service. After that, nothing, your service is done. Whatever logic you want to write, now start writing the logic. For that, I will create a constructor here as first. Empty constructor I am creating. And why we create constructor? Because constructor is a kind of function which will execute whenever the object of class is getting created. Right? Whenever the object of class is getting created, it will be automatically called. After that, what we will do here, let's create a function. So here I will create a function as get message. Get message. And this get message, what this will do, it will just print console.log. So this message is printing something as that developer of this website is Shivam. Right? This is a message that developer of this website is Shivam. Now, okay, service is done. It is having a message function get message and which is printing to the console that developer of this website is Shivam. Now, if my main app wants to use this thing, for that, here you need to create a constructor. Right? Here we will create a constructor as first. And second thing, you need to import the message service. Right? So we have imported the message service. That's it. Now this constructor will be having some field because that is a message. So I will write that private, means I am creating a private field message, and the type of this message will be the message service class. Keeping the semicolon after here, it is not necessary and it will give you errors because this is a decorator. This is a decorator. Now I have created a private message field named as message service. Means if you want to use the message service class, you have to use msg variable, right? So here in this app component, I will create a button and button will say check developer, check developer. and I will attach one click event to this button. So I will say click equals to check dev. Function name I have written as check dev. Now in app component, we will create that function check developer, right? Second thing is we don't know that who is the developer of that website, but our service knows, right? Service know this thing that who is the developer of this website. For that, we are already having something as MSG, means object of class. This MSG is like a object of this message class. So we can write here that MSG dot get message, because get message is a function written in service, and we are using MSG, which can be written as a object of this class here. So here button is coming as check developer. Go to inspect and console here. Remove everything and refresh. So there is no error. Now click on check developer. So it is saying that developer of this website is Shivam. Who is sending this data? Service. Who is sending this data? Service is sending this data to our main class. And remember, this time we have written this message service completely by ourselves. We haven't generated it using Angular. It is just the core logic and core coding that we have written. You can generate it by Angular also, but stick to the basic coding so that you understand the flow of the class also. Now this message is going to console because we are printing it to console. Now we will do one more thing here. So let's create a message here. So I have created a message, and message will be in string. In the starting, it's a empty string. Now in component, I will create one heading, and this heading will render the value of message. It means that whenever I am clicking on check developer, thing is coming to console that developer of this website is Shivam, but I want this message to come to my front end. Console is fine, but I want that thing to come to my UI. For that, again, we will do the same thing. Go to app component. Here you are seeing the constructor message everything. This particular part is printing something to console. Instead of printing this message to console, because here you are printing this message to console, what we will do is this message is returning a string. So get message colon string means this is a string function. Now if it is a string function, it should return a string. So I will write return developer of this website is Shivam. Developer of this website is Shivam. Right? Now if you are going to app component and simply you are running the same thing, refresh your browser, go to inspect, check the console logs, write it down. Now if when I'm clicking on check developer, that message is not getting printed because this time this service is returning the message. So when this function is returning a message, we can accept this message in a value. So I will write let data equals to this dot message dot get message. After that, I will print the data to console. I'm printing this data to console. Now check developer. Developer of this website is Shivam. It means that now this value is coming from app.component.ts. This value is coming from app.component.ts, but technically This value is coming from message.service.ts. So what you have done is you have provided a hack in security layer. Now user can, let's say I am a hacker, right? And I want to check from where in from which class this value is coming. What it is visible here? That this value is coming from app.component.ts. This one. But technically this value is coming from message service. Now if we want to print it to the UI, so instead of printing it to console, I will set the value of data to this message variable. So here I will write this dot message equals to data. That's it. Go to browser, check developer. Developer of this website is Shivam. And from where this data is coming, this particular data is coming from a service, right? This particular data is coming from a service. Now what we will do is we will try to do the same thing to our weather app as well, right? We will try to do the same thing to our weather app. So go to the weather app. I'll close these things. Understood the service now? There is lot more to learn in services, injectable, provided in, but we are seeing its implementation. So this is our weather app. Go to src app services. So let me first delete these two files from this folder and we will create our service, right? We will not use the service created by Angular. We will use service that we are creating. For that, same thing. We will create a file here that weather.service.ts, right? Now in this file, export weather service and it will be a class. So I will write export class weather service and this class will be injectable. Injectable and in injectable provided in root. Provided in root means everyone can use this. Everyone can use this. In class, what we need to do is at first we need to create a constructor, right? And after creating the constructor, we need to create a function. So I will write, let's say function is fetch weather. Function is fetch weather, right? Function is fetch weather. Now this particular function check whether will be returning the data. For that, go to typescript file and we have to find the data. So let me remove this. Inside this, we need to write fetch, right? We need to write fetch and we need to give a URL as well. So again, go to the same website, that is weatherapi.com. So we have to copy the link as well. So first you need to go to API documentation. This is the base URL. So first we need to keep the base URL. After that current.json key equals to and then q equals to. So this is going to be your URL, that weatherapi.com current.json key equals to and q equals to. If you have noticed that the q equals to city name will be coming from outside. So this fetch weather function will accept one value as city and the value will be a string. So this fetch weather is accepting a city value which will be in string. Instead of writing this Guntur directly, we will write dollar and curly brackets. This particular string should be in backtick. So it is coming in backtick for, you can remove the single quotes now. And here we will provide the value of city, right? Fetch. So this API will fetch the data dot then, and whatever response you are getting, you need to convert that response to response dot JSON, right? After that, dot then data. So whatever data you are getting from here, let's first print this data to console, right? So whatever data we are fetching using this API, we are printing it to console. That's it. Now go to the typescript file. First, it should import the weather service. So it is importing the weather service. Now we need to create a constructor here as well. And constructor is having a private weather and whose type will be weather service. Means this is the object of weather service class. This weather is the object of weather service class. In app.component.html, we have a button, and button is performing a function as check weather. Button is performing a function as check weather. Now in app component, we will write the same function that is called check weather, and this check weather function is using the object of weather service. So I will write weather dot fetch weather, because fetch weather was a function and it will accept the value of city also. So this city we are already accepting. So write the city here. Generally this dot city you need to write. Now let's run that application. So go to console. This is our weather app. So this is our app. Go to inspect and then console. So what we will do is we will write a city name here, check weather. So same data is getting printed, and from where this data is coming, you can check this weather.service.ts means the data is coming from the weather service class, not from the app component, right? Not from the app component. If we want to use this data in app component now, so go to weather service, and we have to tell our weather service that you are not printing this data to the console. You have to return this data to the user. You have to return this data to the user. For that, what we will do is we will create one variable here that let details equals to data. So I have created one variable as details, and this fetch weather function is returning the value of details. It is returning the details section. As this detail is inside the fetch weather, so you have to return the value in some format. You have to return the value in some format. So this function, if you are writing here string, that this is a string function, right? If you are writing that this is a string function, and after that you are trying to return the details, that you can't return, by the way. If you are thinking that you can return this detail section, so you can't, because here this dot then data is accepting the value. For that we need to declare this date in the constructor or in the class. So first thing that you need to do is you have to declare the details section here. So I will write details colon any, right? I am writing details colon any, that it can accept any value. And if you are declaring like this, that this dot details equals to data, and this function is returning this dot details, this function is returning this dot details. In app component, same thing we are doing. Now this time this function is returning one value. So here I will write let data equals to this dot same thing, and I will print this data to console, right? Whatever data weather service is giving us, I am just printing it to console. Same thing we will do again, refresh for any other, there is no error. Here we will write one city name and click on check weather. You will see that this time undefined data is coming. Data is coming from app component, but data is undefined. Means this time weather data is not coming, because you are trying to merge the promise in a string. So whenever you are using this fetch keyword and other things, it returns the data in the form of a promise, right? Like promise in JavaScript, promises in JavaScript. So fetch method returns the data in the format of a promise. So we have to use something else. So this string data we cannot return from here. There is one more thing that is called observable, and observable is any. Means you can return any kind of data now. Observable any. Same thing here, we are accepting the data and printing it to console. Refresh, remove it, write the value of city, click on check weather. This time you will see same thing undefined. Same thing undefined. It means that doesn't matter how weather is giving you the class data. It doesn't matter how the weather is giving you data. You are not accepting the data in a proper format in your app component, right? We are not accepting the data properly in our app component. Now, how we can properly accept it? Okay, you are trying to use this thing in this way. Here, I will add one keyword, that is subscribe, right? I have added one keyword as subscribe. And in this subscribe, let me first tell you what exactly is a subscribe. So when you're writing subscribe, so you will see that if your data is returning the value in the format of observable any kind of value, that you need to subscribe to that data. You need to subscribe to that data. After subscribing, you can try to use. So let's say I am getting a data from here. First of all, this is the part that it will say that data is declared but never used, and it has any type. So it's not a big deal. Now let's discuss about what is observable any, a simple any type in TypeScript. And second thing, observable and subscribe. These things we should discuss now. What is any type in TS? This we have discussed in the typescript classes, right? Any type in TS. This we have done, right? What do you mean by any type? Generally, whenever you are writing, let's say there is a string whose type is a string, there is a num whose type is number, there is a b whose type is boolean, like that we used to do. Remember? So, what is any? Yes, what is any? It accept any type of data. Means it is not having any restriction that I will not accept number, I will not accept boolean, I will not accept string. It can accept any particular kind of data, right? It can accept any particular kind of data. Then for handling this data, you need to subscribe to it, right? It's like a YouTube channel. You need to subscribe to it. So let's subscribe, and in this subscribe, one value data is coming. One kind of data value is coming, and we are not doing anything, just printing this data to console. And here we will try to discuss one more method of fetching the APIs in Angular. Let me tell you how. So this time we are subscribing to it, and let's write here one location. And you will notice that this time it is saying the error that it cannot read the properties of undefined reading subscribe. Reading subscribe means it is telling you that your fetch method is returning the promise. It is not returning the value. It is returning a promise. And subscribe method is not able to read those values. What it is saying? It is saying cannot read properties of undefined reading subscribe, means it cannot read the properties. So remember one thing, fetch method for API returns the promise. It returns a promise, but we want the, it will work fine in normal typescript, but if you want to use it with services, you need to actually map it, right? You need to actually map it. For that we need to make changes to our service. It means that can't we write in this way? So the answer is no, we need to change it. How we will change it? For that, to my constructor I will say that you are having a private http variable and its type is http client, and Angular provides you one method, and that method is http client. So if you hover over it, it will give you the message that performs http request. Generally put, get, post, all these are http request, means whatever you are doing using fetch, you can do the same thing using the http client as well. So here Angular provides you this thing, and you will see one thing, that it returns the response type, right? It returns the response type to you. For that, created the constructor. Now same thing we will try to use. So in this, let's create a function as fetch weather. In this function of fetch weather, first it will accept one value as city, and city I will keep as string. And the type of this function that I want to keep is, it will be observable any. Observable any means this particular function can accept any value in which it will observe the value. Whenever you are fetching the data from APIs, you have to write your function in observable. Now whenever you are casting your function to a specific type, that my function is string type, my function is number type, you have to return the same value from your function. Know this thing? You know this thing or not? Let me discuss then. But by the way, we have discussed these all things in TypeScript as well, but no problem. Let's have a quick go through it. Here I am creating a function of, let's say, function of my fun. Function of my fun. As it is JavaScript, so it will not take. Let me open the TypeScript playground. So let's say here I have created a function of my fun, and to this function of my fun I am saying that what it will do, it will try to create, or let's say it will print one message to the console. So I will write console.log function is working. Function is working, right? If we want to run this program, so click on run, and now we need to call this function to run it, right? For that, let's write my fun, and now I will run it. So you will see that function is working. But I will do one change, that my function is return type as string. Means I am attaching string. Now you will see that it is throwing a error. An error is trying to tell you that a function whose declared type is neither undefined, void, or any must return a value. It is saying that if your function you have declared, if the type of function is undefined, void, or any, then no problem. If it is neither undefined, neither void, nor any, now it should return a value. For that, this function should return a value now. So I will return, let's say, 100. Now also it will throw you error. The reason is your function is of a string. So you should return a string. For that, I'll convert it to a string and error is gone. If you are giving a type as a number to your function, now you should give a number only. So let's say 100. That's it. Fine. If you are saying that your function is of Boolean type, now your function should return either true or false. That's what we are saying here. Same thing we are doing here itself, that my function is observable any. It means that it can return any type of API data. Second thing that we have to do here is a return statement. Now this function is returning something, and it should return something, otherwise it will not work. What it will return? The API whether it will return. For that, same thing I will write here. So I will write this dot http dot get, because you want to get the data. You want to get the data, and getting the data in any format. So I will write any, that getting the data in any format. In that you need to write the string. For that, this string will be having the information of that link, means API link. So this is the base URL. Let's copy and paste. Then it is having this particular thing. So copy. This is the URL link. Instead of writing this Guntur directly, I will write it in a parsing, and here I will give the value of city. Now this function is returning this value. I will go to app component, And this time same thing we will try to do. So refresh, standalone component, HTTP client, no provider for HTTP client, service factory. So to your app component, say one thing that standalone is true here. Means this is a standalone component. Now what it is saying that R3 injector error standard weather service actually client no provider for HTTP client yet. Injectable HTTP client. Hold on a bit. Okay, got it. So now whenever this weather service is trying to return the API's value in this particular format. So here to this get method also I have casted it to any. Means my function is also returning an any value and this get method also returning any value. But here if we remove the any value, go to app component, in this constructor we have to create the object. So I will write private weather and it will be of weather service. Now this check weather is trying to, or if it is having any problem in the meantime it will throw the error to you. So you will see that error is coming because you are writing the thing in constructor and constructor is automatically called. If you just try to read out this particular thing here, this one, let me remove everything and refresh it. So you are seeing this particular part. See, reading the error will give you the entire clarity. So here you need to check that R3 injector error. Where we are having the error? R3 injector error means there is some error while we are trying to inject the service. Standalone app component weather service means it is saying that when you are trying to import the weather service in app component, at that time it is throwing the error. It means hey, if you are removing this single thing your app will work fine. So right, this time no error. So that error is expected because we need to understand standalone and other things also. So here again same thing. And what is the error? Error is saying that weather service is having HTTP client and it is say that null injector error. No provider for HTTP client. It is saying that there is no provider and in the 8th line there is a error in the weather service. So weather service 8th line means this class is having the error. So no problem. What we will do is we will create some fields then. So I will create private API key equals to means this time we will separate the logic. So this is my API key. I'll keep that, copy. So this is the API key and I will write private API URL. Here you need to keep the URL as well. URL means current.json. So this is your URL till current dot json. So copy it and paste here. Now this get method should take the values from variables. So I will write get any, and in this you need to provide the values. How we will write the values? So we will write the values in this way, that http dot get any. First thing I will keep a dollar, and in dollar what we will write? We will write this dot. Let's say we need to write this dot API URL. After the URL, we need to write question mark, and we need to write one more thing, that is key. So we will write key equals to this dot, or you can keep question mark key equals to dollar brackets API key. Then you need to write and city, or not city, q equals to, and the value of q will be coming from outside, that is called city. So in this way you have turned down this HTTP method, right? We have turned down this method. Same thing, let's go and refresh. This time it is error, same error is coming, but this is the things. Null injector, R3 injector, null injector, injector, like lot of things are coming now. It means that there is something called as injector who is giving you these kind of errors, right? So now here comes the concept of dependency injection. It means that if you are fetching the data from API in services, how you will use these things inside your component. For solving this error now, we should have the knowledge of dependency injection. I'll tell you why. Because whenever you are writing the thing in app component file, this one weather service, remove it, there is no error, app is working fine, right? There is not even a single error. So it is saying that the error is coming when you are injecting the weather service, when you are trying to use the weather service. Now for that we should understand that what is dependency injection. See, we can solve this error directly, but there is no benefit if you're not understanding it, right? So for that, let's first understand what is dependency injection. How you will know this thing, and this particular dependency injection is coming from your normal life also. So we'll see that. Let's say how the hierarchy works. Let's say here is your parents. I will not write father, I will write parents. Now let's say there is a school boy and he need to purchase some study material, let's say books and anything. For purchasing those books, where that boy depends on the parents. So can we write a single statement that a student is generally dependent on their parent for their study material? So we are writing in this way, that a student is dependent on their parent for the study material, and that's fine, there is no issue, right? Depending upon your parents while you are a student, it's not a big problem, it's a good thing. Now let's say you asked your parents to give you 10,000 rupees to submit your fees or anything. Now it depends on you that how they will give you that data or that money. First thing, they can come to your college and submit that fees. At that time also your motive is getting fulfilled. But no, you don't want that. You need some commission in between, right? So one thing is, they will transfer the money to you, right? Actual fees is 9,000 and you have said it's 10,000. 1,000 is your delivery charge, right? So there are multiple methods of this dependency injection as well. So when it comes to dependency injection, it is not a like a very big technology. It is like a design pattern only, that how the things will be going in the flow. When it comes to dependency injection, how it will come. So anything. So when it comes to dependency injection, it seeks that how you will do the things. So let's start learning it. So here we will write that dependency injection. You understand injection? I think it's a very common term. Whenever you're getting some disease, I hope you will never get any disease, but if you're getting, so it's a medical remedy. Why we are calling it injection? Because let's say you are having an injection in your forearms, means here. So doctor used to inject the fluid or that liquid or that injection. Injecting means uh, okay, one general knowledge question. When we have already have medicines, why doctor used to inject that injection? They can give us tablets as well, right? Why doctor prefer giving injections? Anyone has the right answer? First thing is, doctors has more commission on injection than tablets. And this is the actual reason that they prefer to give injection. But the second thing is, whenever you are taking a tablet, it will go in your stomach. At first, it will dissolve there and then it will start working. Let's say you are taking a tablet to remove the body pain. So at first, it will go in your body. I'm talking about tablet. It will use the fluid or water available in your body to dissolve the tablet. And when it started dissolving, the tablet will flow through your blood in your entire body and it will fix the things. But the case is reversed with injection. Injection is already dissolved. So doctor will inject it in directly in the veins or the blood. So it will start flowing immediately. So the reaction time of tablets and dependent injection is different. If a tablet is giving you relief in 1 hour, injection can give in 1 minute as well. And I've seen this personally, that injections are more, but they have side effects also. But that is not our case study. Same is with the dependency injection. That without delay, directly you are dependent on that injection. So that is dependency injection here. So we will write that dependency injection is a design pattern. What it is a design pattern in Angular that allows, and if I have written Angular, it doesn't mean that dependency injection is available in Angular only. It is available in Python, it is available in React, it is available in Spring, it is available in DJANGO. It's a pattern, so anyone can follow this, right? So dependency injection is a design pattern in Angular that allows the automatic provision of dependencies. Why we are writing automatic? Because injection work automatically. There is no need when, because it's not like tablet. It will go in your body and then it will get dissolved. No, it is already dissolved. It will start working automatically. So dependency injection is a design pattern in Angular that allows the automatic provision of dependencies. In dependencies, we are talking about either services or we are talking about objects. In Angular, dependencies means either service or object, two components or other services. It means that dependency injection is a design pattern in Angular that allows the automatic provision of dependencies to components or other services. So first thing is here the app component is depend on this weather service for the real time API data. That's what I mean using the using injection. The medicine directly goes on the blood stream. Prasanna, I think this answer is from the highly intelligent Google. This is not your answer. That is called dependency injection. Now we will have to see that how dependency injection works in Angular. So there are three things involved here. The first one that is getting involved is called the injector. Second thing that involved here is provider. Third thing that is involved here is dependency injection. No, dependency resolution. Now, what is this injector? What is this provider? We need to see that. And one more thing. If you have not created the weather app till now, so I think I have provided the source code as well. Go to source code and at least copy paste it by changing your API key. Right? That I think you can do. At least build that. Every software developer start their journey by copy pasting the thing. Even I do. When I started coding, I don't know anything about it. I don't know zero. I was zero in this. But for starting something, you should follow the already built things, right? Let's say there is a mouse. If I want to build this mouse, I want to start a factory of building the mouse. I have to follow the rules of developing a mouse. It should have a trackball, it should have a pointer, it should have a wire. Now, if you want to build the mouse, everything you can't build. You need to purchase the wire from other companies. You need to purchase the plastic from other companies. So start doing that thing. This is a serious project. This is a very good project. Yes, of course, you need to practice it 1,000 times before going into the real time. If you are thinking that company will see that, oh, you are having certificate from Naresh IT, okay, okay, hire him. No one will hire you except some companies. It doesn't matter that from where you are coming. I have seen people coming from IIT, BTech, MTech, and they are still struggling to earn a single rupee. It's not about your degree and your that stamp that from where you are coming from. It doesn't matter. Don't think like that. What matters is how you are building yourself. I have given you the source code, right? I have given you the source code. What you need to do, at least copy paste that code, download that entire code and you run it in VS Code. In my API key, you should use your API key. That's it. Same project will be working on you also. I have given one section as your API key. Change that your API key to the generated key by yourself. If you are not doing it, you will never get it. If you want to get it, start doing it. What do you think that one day God came to me and fit the coding into my brain? No, I also cried like you. I was also frustrated like you. It happens with everyone. It happens with everyone. The person who is having 20 years of experience will be crying one day. But it is how you have to keep doing it, whether you are having a mood to do it or no. Your hobbies and your career should not depend on your mood. Never. Let's say today I was not having, but generally it is not my case. Let's say today I was not having a mood to come to academy. Is it possible that I am calling to the management that no, I am not having mood today. I'm not coming. They will deduct the salary today only, right? So whenever you know why I like the company environment, because I think it gives you discipline, discipline of reaching at time, discipline of taking the things on time. That's why I like it. And if you are not having discipline in your life, then it's worst. Worst. So being a student, what discipline you can put forward? Give 3 block hours. That's enough. 3 block hours means in those 3 hours you will not talk to anyone. You will not talk with parents also. You will not do anything except coding. Give 3 block hours for next 3 months. You will leave the you will be in the top 10% developer of India. But in those 3 hours, you should be learning the things, you should be implementing the things without complaining anything. Don't try to challenge the system. Now, if you are thinking why companies require English, learn English. If you are challenging why company require Angular with that, learn it. But don't try to challenge the system. If you are trying to challenge the system in your entire life, you will be challenging only. And you will end up by becoming a joker. If your job requires you to learn English, then at least learn English, right? See, most of the peoples here are Telugu, right? And your preferred language is Telugu also. But I don't know a single word there. But my job is like that. It is not requiring to